Hi everyone. This short video is going to walk you through kind of a critique of a sample paragraph so that you can see what I'm looking for and what all paragraphs should contain in terms of topic sentence, evidence, and discussion. Okay, so let's get started. So if you would like to, go ahead and pause this video for just a second and read through the paragraph so that you have an idea of what's happening. Go ahead, I'll wait. Ready? Okay, this paragraph is part of a larger essay in which the student is writing about the drama Aftershock and defining it as a drama. So, drama has to have well-developed, realistic characters that one may develop emotions for or against. Not a bad start at a topic sentence. It's missing a couple things. It needs a comma there and not a comma there. But I know that what he's going to be talking about here is that the paragraphs need to be well developed with realistic characters and you develop emotions. It's kind of a lot for a single paragraph. But let's see how he does. Okay, after Feng Da, which is the name of this character, is saved from the collapsed building, his arm has to be amputated. Throughout the movie, you see him struggle. You see his struggles and achievements. The viewer becomes saddened to see him without his arm, but glad to see him overcome that obstacle throughout life. In this movie, all of the characters are well defined but one. This is a great example of why they need to be defined. Feng Dang's husband just seems out of place, almost to the point of awkwardness. Other than him, this movie expresses the reason to have defined characters the viewers can empathize with. Okay, so what do we think of this paragraph? If you think this is a strong, solid paragraph, you probably should go back and review some stuff. The paragraph has a lot of information, which is a good start for a paragraph. But remember, paragraphs are structures. They're not the way we talk to people in real life. They're presented in such a way that a reader can understand what we're talking about even when we're not there to correct or explain, which means that everything in the paragraph has to follow the thing before it. And all of the information has to really go back to that topic sentence. So let's look at that topic sentence again. Well-developed, realistic characters that one can develop emotions for or against. How many of these points are actually talked about in this paragraph? Well, let's start with well-developed. Where in this paragraph does the writer show us how the characters are well-developed? I don't think this particular writer does. We know that the character Feng Da has an arm that's amputated, but there's nothing specifically about losing your arm that makes you a well-developed character. After all, we don't know anything else about Feng Da. We don't even really know what he does for a living or how he moves or if he's a good guy or a bad guy. So if you're going to say that drama has to have well-developed characters, you need to give some examples of how that character is well-developed. Do we see both his home life and his work life? Do we see bad sides and good sides of him? What about it makes him well-developed? That information is not in this particular paragraph. Okay, the writer also says that the characters are realistic. So where in here do we see the writer talking about a character being realistic? Maybe you could kind of state the fact that he struggles with his arm amputation is definitely realistic. Most people would struggle with that. But how does he struggle? And what are his achievements? For instance, if you have someone with his arm amputated and then he becomes a great basketball player, that would be an achievement. If he regenerates an arm like a starfish, that would not be realistic. So more detail is really needed here if you're going to set your topic sentence to talk about realistic characters. Now, let's look at this third point. Develop emotions for or against. So basically have sympathy or empathy for. This paragraph does a better job of talking about this. So we see his struggles, so we see that he's sad. That's an emotion. We see that he's glad, also an emotion. And that's really about it. So there's not a whole lot of detail there, once again. Here, the writer is talking about a character being defined. But up here, there's no discussion of a definition of a character. And defining a character and developing a character, they're not really the same thing. They're related, yeah, but they're not the same. We've also introduced another character here, this Feng Dang, which I assume is not a typo, but is a different character than Feng Da up here. The husband seems just out of place. Well, why? What about them is awkward or out of place in the movie? And what does that have to do with the topic sentence that this particular writer has put forward? Not a lot, right? So far, if we look at this paragraph, the topic sentence has a few too many ideas in it to really control a single paragraph. That's part of the problem, is they're trying to do way too much in way too small of a space. It does have some evidence, but the evidence is very general. There's not a lot of specifics. I've never seen the movie Aftershock, and this particular paragraph doesn't take me into that movie. So I'm not really sure what the writer's talking about when he refers to some of this stuff. But let's look at the discussion. Other than him, this movie expresses the reason to have defined characters the viewers can emphasize with. This is actually a pretty good start at a discussion. The thing that I like about this is that the paragraph does the bookending thing that a paragraph needs to do, with the topic sentence kind of up front, and then you come full circle back to the idea and relate it to the larger issue at hand, which is needing to have empathetic characters in your movies. So, just as an overview, this is a good start at a paragraph, but really looking at this, I think that this is actually 2 or 3 paragraphs, or could be, with a lot more detail and a lot more example. Now, the tricky thing is, it's not necessarily out of place, and if you were just having a conversation with someone, it might be that you could talk to them about all these different issues face to face. That's fine face to face, because when you're sitting face to face, you can say, wait, what's well developed about them? Right? The listener, the audience, has a chance to stop the person who's speaking and say, clarify, give me more details. But when you're dealing with writing, your reader doesn't get that chance. It's your job as a writer to put those details in the paper so that your reader isn't left thinking, well, what do you mean by well developed? Or how is the character realistic? Or what kind of emotions other than being sad or glad can we get? And why do we feel sad for him? I can think of a lot of bad guys, for instance, that if their arm got amputated, we would be cheering. So what about the character, other than this amputation, makes it sad that he loses his arm? Detail, detail, detail. And always remember, you really want to hit TED. Topic sentence, E for evidence, and D for discuss. If you're following that structure, you're going to have really strong paragraphs. Hopefully this little critique has helped you. If you have more questions, be sure to let me know.